Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm back with another book review, and this one is entitled The Book Eaters by Sunny Dean. And this is a book by Tor, and I pulled it up on the shelf at my local bookstore, a used bookstore, and really kind of was caught by how they presented the book. And essentially, they make a huge emphasis on these types of people. It's a very unique race of people, I'll put it that way right now, who can eat books for sustenance and also for learning, right? So they can eat a book. They have the autonomy and the anatomy in their body to eat a book, thereby receiving health and knowledge from those books. And they describe things like, if you were, after a long week, to them, spy novels are a peppery snack. Romance novels are sweet and delicious. Eating a map can help you remember destinations. And children, when they misbehave, are forced to eat dry, musty pages from dictionaries. And just that kind of maybe whimsical description of a story, even there, really kind of grabbed my attention. And so I picked it up, wanted to read it, and when I started reading it, not what I expected. Just put it that way. I kind of went into it blind, as I do with some book, a lot of books, unless you do research beforehand. And just kind of wanted to jump into it and see, what is this thing about eating books and being able to remember what you read? Well, I'm going to give you just a brief run through of the story. And then at the very end, I'll give sort of my honest review of it. So I'm going to run through it and just sort of leave you on a cliffhanger of, here's the plot development. You need to read it to figure out how it ends, okay? Well, Devon is our main character, and she's raised as a child in a world of innocence and purity, as most children hopefully are. Her family lives in a large mansion, and they keep to themselves. There are other mansions with other family members in different areas, but she grows up in one family in particular. Devon and her family are known as book eaters because they have the capability to consume books for sustenance and knowledge, as I said earlier. Well, Devon's first interaction with the outside world is when a local human reporter trespasses onto the family land, looking to interview these very mysterious and very private people as far as the humans are concerned. He's welcomed, I'll use that word sparingly, he's welcomed into the home, but Devon and her brother are sent away to go read or do homework or entertain themselves, and the reporter is never seen again. So the reader here knows immediately something is up with this situation. Well, the 6 book eater families have a massive problem, we find out. They struggle with fertility, and that naturally is leading to their entire population growing closer and closer and closer toward extinction. In order to combat this, they're very aware of human fertility treatments and developments in technology and medical practices. And because if the humans can figure out some way to artificially inseminate a child into the womb, they're saved. And so they're very interested in human medical development. However, in the meantime, though they struggle with infertility, when a book eater woman does have a child, if that child is a baby girl, she is born into a life of duty and responsibility, because when she becomes of age, she is not just married off to someone or one of the families that needs potentially a new baby girl. She is passed around from family to family for the sole purpose of bearing children, right? So she becomes nothing more than essentially a means to an end. When Devon comes of age, this is exactly what happens. She's sent to another family to be married to the family head and to sire him a child. Well, Devon performs her duty. She delivers a baby girl, sure enough. and her maternal instincts immediately kick in. There's nothing that she will not do for this child. However, in order to keep book eater women controlled and subservient, they've decided that these families will actually take the children away when they're weaned and send them to another family or send them away so that they can't have maybe influence over the mother. Well, Devon begs her husband, anyone else who's part of the delivery process, to let her keep her child, but her wishes are rejected. And her innocent understanding of her family, her childhood, even her upbringing, immediately comes crashing down all around her. Well, when she gives birth to her second child, a son that she names Kai, she determines that she will escape her family and make it on her own in the human world, which is a very noble thing. And we can feel for Devon, we can feel for the young Kai. She wants to escape from this cult. Though, yes, they're not human as they eat books for food, we can appreciate that she wants to escape and make it on her own. Well, there's another wrinkle that we find out. And with this strange race of people, there's not just book eaters, as they're called, but there's also another type of creature that's called a mind eater. And these people are called dragons because of their long tongues that they're born with. And these mind eaters do not eat books, they feast on brains for sustenance, to satisfy their hunger. And not like the books, which you may retain the information. When a dragon or a mind eater eats a brain, they assume that person's identity and personality, becoming more and more complex with every meal. And the life that they live, they slowly lose themselves and lose any sense of self-identity because of the compounding personalities. Here's the wrinkle. Kai, Devon's son, is a mind eater. So she's going to escape. She's dooming herself and Kai to a life of being a dragon. Well, one of the 6 families called the Ravenscars, they developed a pill that they call redemption. And this pill, which is a medical creation, turns mind eaters back, if I could say that, back into book eaters. And so Devon's plan, her mission, is to escape with her family escape her family with Kai, avoid the dragons and their handlers, who are called the knights, who are being sent to hunt her down. She wants to find redemption. The pill, she wants to find redemption and find freedom for her and her son. And so Sunny Dean, she provides a new take on the vampire trope in her book, The Book Eaters. And I would encourage you to check it out if what I've described so far seems interesting. And now, after I finish the run-through, if you want to go read it, please stop the video and go read it. But as I get into kind of just my short, brief takeaway, I'll admit I feel like what I introduced at the beginning, what sort of drew me in, the aspect of, okay, you're eating a book and you're using that information to help do things. That's not really the focus of the book eaters. Though it's part of it, really not much of her eating books really even helps her in the process. In fact, she'll get into different situations and say things like, I wish I would have eaten this type of book. So if you're getting into this thinking, oh, that's super cool, if they get into this situation, they're going to find a map that help them get there, that's not really how they go about solving problems. Honestly, a huge aspect of this is really the physical control that the families have over the female book eaters. And so it's a dark book. This is not one that's a fun read, right? You feel for the characters, you want them to escape. However, this is very much a thriller, right? And so as far as character development goes, you need to read this book with Devon in mind, right? Devon as the main character. You can't think of her as like a fully functioning, thinking adult, because she's not. She's not been given the logic. She's not been reared with the thought process to be able to solve problems. And so I found myself getting frustrated. A lot of things that she would decide to do or she would react, it was like, why did you react that way? This is not helping things. But then you need to realize that she was brought up as very innocent, very sheltered. And so as she's trying to do what she thinks is right, she really has no way to sort of, she has no experience to build on or maturity to sort of lean back upon. So there are other characters that I've obviously not mentioned, like her brother continues to be a character. He becomes a knight, right? Charged with keeping track of the dragons, and he is chasing her down as well. Her uncle, who sort of raised her, really her father will sort of figure out, but her uncle is who he is the big bad sort of in the story. There's one of the members of the Ravenscar family that's sent to maybe help track her down and offer her help in the Ravenscar family. So there's more than I've described here. But if I'm going to be brutally honest, it wasn't the most gripping of stories for me. I feel like it was a slow-paced book. There was a lot of focus put on to the trauma of what this brought, which is fine. However, I felt like it was just large swaths of the book were just sort of her regurgitating the same, everything about my background is horrible, I can't move forward, I can't cope, this is all horrible. And I didn't really feel like we got much of a character development here. Kai as well, the child, he's sort of a very consistent character. He's a child, I appreciate that. But when I came away from it, I felt like I would have liked to see a little bit more action. I would have liked to see a little bit more redemption in the story. Obviously, the pill is called redemption. And I would have appreciated maybe a little bit more growth in these characters. So out of 5, I'm going to give it a solid 2.5. And so, again, there are parts where I really did enjoy. I felt the anxiety with Devon as she's trying to escape. However, I just would have appreciated maybe a little bit more hope at the end, working towards something. So that's my takeaway from it. Have you read it? Have you heard of it? What's your take on The Book Eaters? Sunny Dean, published by Tor, The Book Eaters. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next video.